Hi everyone, and welcome to my latest Psychology of Resilience video entitled I Like to Move It, Move It. And here is my daughter Ella demonstrating the importance of activity and exercise in these challenging times. So the questions I would like to address today is why the current situation is making many of us feel very tired and lethargic, I suppose, even if we're not one of the key workers out there working really hard. We might just be at home on lockdown, but still we feel quite lethargic. And why is it that the government have said that of all the things that we are no longer allowed to do, one thing that is still permitted is to exercise every day, and that is allowed in the same way as fetching your food stuff or caring for people in your community that need to be looked after. The reason for this is because our government is taking a very evidence-based approach to how it handles this pandemic. And I'm going to explain to you why exercise in particular is so very important in these times of lockdown. So if you watch my first video on why people are being weird, you'll remember that our fight and flight response is something that is triggered by any form of stress or anxiety or a fear, I suppose, of what is going on around us. And these are really quite scary times. And so we get this cortisol released within our system, which is our fight and flight hormone. So you may remember some of the things that it is responsible for is sending blood to the hands to ready us for the fight and blood to our feet to ready us for flight. So cortisol has one purpose only, and that is to make us escape from or defend ourselves from the threat that is coming at us. But obviously with COVID-19, we can't run away from it, we can't escape it, it's just here. And so the cortisol remains in our system, it doesn't dissipate because we haven't done anything with it. And the problem of that is that it is a leading cause of high blood pressure, strokes and heart disease. So cortisol, this fight and flight stress hormone, is something that, although designed to keep us alive, can be incredibly harmful if we have too much of it slushing around our system. And the problem with the stress and pressures that we have now, if we're not getting rid of that cortisol, every time we feel anxious, we feel stressed, we feel scared, we get a little bit more cortisol released into our system. And that is why over time it becomes incredibly toxic to our systems. It is also one of the only few hormones that we are thought to share with those around us. And this makes sense from a sort of evolutionary point of view, I suppose, in that if we were out on the savannah hunting and I saw a tiger, but you had your back to me, it would make sense that you would feel an echo of my fear, so you would know to run without having to see what was happening. And so this cortisol is something that not only keeps me alive, but it keeps my pack alive. So if you are in a household and you are feeling anxious and stressed and you have your loved ones around you, then chances are you might be sharing some of this stress with them and sort of infecting them with that. So it's not only in your own interest to try and reduce your levels of cortisol, but it is also in the interest of your whole family. When it comes to reducing levels of cortisol, it is really incredibly easy to do this, which is the good news, because all it wants you to do is move. So the research shows us that 20 minutes or so of gentle activity, preferably outside in the fresh air, significantly reduces the amount of cortisol in our system. And this also has a positive impact on our sleep, because if you imagine that there is a lot of this fight and flight hormone in your system because you are feeling stressed and feeling anxious, one thing it won't let you do is go into a deep sleep. So we have different stages of sleep, as I'm sure many of you are aware. So we have light sleep, we have the REM sleep where we tend to dream, and then we have this very deep restorative sleep. Now this is the one that we can't really be woken from very easily because we are completely out, because our system is sort of regenerating. What cortisol won't let you do is go into that deep sleep to a great extent, because the cortisol thinks something's coming, there is a threat. And so you will sleep, but you might have very fitful sleep, or you might wake in the night, or you might wake up early, or struggle to get off to sleep in the first place. And so your quality of sleep is disrupted by the fact that you have this cortisol in your system. So getting out every single day, having some activity, movement, whether it be walking or cycling or running, this is going to reduce the amount of cortisol in your system, which is going to allow you to rest much better and allow you to bounce back from the challenges that are facing us. Because, you know, it's often described that we are mind and body, but of course these things are completely integrated. And if your body is not functioning to the best of its ability, then the mind can't function either. So sleep deprivation, for those of you who may have experienced this to any great degree, so any new parents will know this. I mean, I certainly recall when my daughter was 3 weeks old, going to the kitchen to make a cup of tea, and although I knew all of the key ingredients for this beverage, I couldn't for the life of me remember how you put them together. So I just got myself a glass of water and went back to the baby. I was so tired that my brain just could not function. My memory was affected, my sort of rational thinking, my reasoning was affected, and I probably had a bit of a cry, because when our sort of resources are depleted like that, our ability to control our emotions is also reduced. And so there are real benefits to getting this cortisol out of our system, because it allows us to sleep, and it allows not only our immune system to stay as strong as it possibly can because we're fitter and we're more healthy, but it also allows our mental resilience to stay high, because it enables us to manage our emotional responses more effectively, and to bounce back from the fact that, yeah, we are going to have hard days. There are going to be moments where we feel like it's just too hard and we feel a bit helpless, or we feel angry, we feel frustrated, but those moments will pass, and you can accelerate how quickly they pass by how you look after your body, through making sure that you exercise regularly, hopefully every day, and how you use your mental energy, as we've looked at in the previous 2 videos. So what are you filling your time with? What are you thinking about? And what are you talking about? So when it comes to maintaining your resilience, reducing cortisol, exercising is super important. And if you just think about that sort of downward spiral that we might get into, in that we feel really stressed, and that means that we don't sleep very well, which means that the next day we feel really tired, which means we can't be bothered to exercise because it's too hard, which means that we are more susceptible to the next bout of stress and anxiety. So my tip for you is, it does not matter how you feel before you exercise, how much you don't want to do it, how much you don't feel like doing it. That is not as relevant as how you are going to feel once you have done it. So please, in these times of challenge and lockdown and hardship, do make sure you look after your immunity, you look after your emotional state, and you look after your mental and physical health by taking advantage of that ability to go outside and do something active. And if you are in a situation where you are unable to go outside for any reason, then do make sure that you do what you can inside your house, even if that's armchair aerobics. There are lots of things online now to help us move in whatever way we have the capability to move. But movement gets rid of cortisol, and cortisol is the thing that will make you feel more and more stressed and anxious and tired and lethargic. So get rid of it, keep yourself healthy, and take care. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.